right. So let's get rolling. John, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me. I'm busy and always working too much, so that's how I am. But I have a feeling I'm not the only one in that position.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago, and why don't we do just like a little bit of background first? Like you've been a repair guy for some time, right?
yeah. So I actually, my first formal training in any kind of guitar making was in the mid '90s, I guess. I was in my 20s then, and I was living here in the Pioneer Valley. I don't know if people know the area. I'm in Northampton, Mass, and actually, Northampton, Mass, has this really tremendously long history of guitar building and repair. Which I don't know how many of you guys know, but you'll probably know some of the folks who are around here. So I was post college, and I had always been a guitar tinkerer. As a youngster, I would just be adjusting my guitar all the time, but I didn't have any formal training or knowledge particularly. So I got it in my head to just jump in and take some guitar making classes when I was like 23 or something like that. So that's what I did. And that was mid 90s. And some of you guys probably know Bill Compiano. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Ivan Schmuckler and Brad Nickerson. I don't know if you guys know Brad. But those three guys were my first teachers there. They had a thing called the Leeds Guitar Maker School, and it was actually in Leeds, Mass, which is like one of the little local, nearby next door towns here. And then they moved to Northampton proper right around the time when I was, I think, right in the middle of my classes. So I think it might have been like 1995 or six, I forget. And actually, Bill Compiano and Harry Becker are still there. I don't know if any of you guys know Harry, but he's a longtime repair guy. And all these guys have worked with like Gurian and Millard and everyone. I think everyone kind of came up together to some degree, learning in each other's shops. I know these guys all studied in New York, I think, with Gurian at the time to some degree, or came up working in his shop. So I learned from those guys in like '95, and I built flat top guitar. I built an arch top guitar with them. Actually, the arch top I built with Brad, I got sold to a pretty famous guitar player at the time, which was fun. And he played it and then got it stolen before he really took off. So that was kind of a funny one. I found it later for sale in a store locally too, which was interesting. But so I learned arch top building and flat top building. And then I spent probably 2 or 3 years on my own, just building, feeling my way through. I had a little shop that I shared with some people down here in Northampton with next to Brad and next to Ivan and next to Bill. So actually, as I was saying, Bill and Harry are still in that building. I think their landlord hasn't raised their rent since then, and that might be the main reason why they're still in business there. And even though they're kind of at retirement age, Harry's pretty retired. Um, so that was it. And then I built on my own for 3 years or so. I built some electrics. I built a mandolin or two. I built some flat tops. And as you all know, they were probably not the best instruments in the world when you're building in your first few years, but they were pretty cool. And I actually got out of it then. I stopped. Hold on one sec. Yeah, so I stopped building after about 3 years because I was in my 20s, and it was just lonely and isolating. To be honest, it was just I felt like the world was going by me, and I just didn't. I wasn't participating. I was like in a little closet chiseling things. So I got out of repair and I got into doing a lot of other stuff. But I did get back into repairing me. I repaired throughout that whole time. And then I got into repair really earnestly, probably again about 12 to 13 years ago. And that I've just been doing full time ever since, like with a vengeance. Now we own a shop that we handle thousands of guitars a year. So we really built up the repair business quite a bit. And I built some in the interim, but not much. I would like to get back to it later on in life when I
What
have
was
some
it
more
that fired?
space.
What was it that fired you up about repair at the second time?
It was really I would say two things. One is I fix things all the time. So that's actually something I think many of you probably can relate to. I think one of the things that makes me a capable repair person is that I've done other stuff besides guitars. I can build a house, I can wire a house, I can plumb a house, I built furniture for a while. I can fix boats, whatever. So, fixing things in general and problem solving is something that I've always been doing. And so then, practically speaking, a guy I knew was running a little repair shop. Oh, sorry, a little guitar sales shop called Birdhouse Music. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it. And I just started setting up with him and just repairing at the shop there in downtown Northampton, and it just took off right away. It just started growing fast. We were making custom parts casters for people, selling guitars and repairing guitars. So that was, that goes back about 10 to 12 years ago. And I worked with Birdhouse for about 4 or 5 years and really built that store up. And then I left to start Mill River Music in 2017.
Cool. So 2017 is the launch of Mill River. And I'm always curious, when repair guys get into retail, did you start out just doing a repair shop that you just kind of like collected like a guitar and fixed it up, and then you're like, hey, I guess I'm selling guitars now, or did you set out like specifically, I know that when commercial real estate is involved, you've got to make money,
Yeah.
hand over fist. What was the path?
Initially, right before Birdhouse, I was repairing at home for a year or two. And that was really just kind of for fun and extra money. And then that led into the Birdhouse thing. And really, that place, I didn't necessarily start repairing there because I wanted to repair. I got repairing there because we were buying instruments that needed repair. And then people started coming in needing repair. And then next thing you know, it was, a full on repair shop. So that by the time we started Mill River in 2017, the repair aspect was a really big part of our business. There's four of us here who are techs. I got like 3 full-time techs and me. And we hope to train more people in the future. That's one of the fun things for me is teaching and just seeing other people take off with this. But it really started more as like, hey, I'm going to tinker on guitars that need to be sold. I'm going to buy this crappy guitar. I'm going to fix it up and sell it. So the repair thing sort of grew out of sales. And the sales thing really just happened organically for me, in that there was an opportunity. Because Birdhouse was there. I was able to kind of partner up with the owner, and it turned out that I was pretty good at sales and working with people in that way. So I had about 3 to 4 years of that Birdhouse incubation period before we launched Mill River Music. And then when we launched Mill River, it was it's a small repair shop, but we do like over 1,000 repairs a year for the public, and then we do. I mean, a lot of that's just setup work and pickups and that kind of thing, And then we do many thousands of guitars a year that we sell here. So we have a really big retail operation. And so if you're a tech here, you're probably spending half your time doing like billable hours for customers and half your time doing work for the shop.
Cool. So, work-life balance is easy enough to deal with if you just get rid of your life. But
I don't have one.
Yeah, work balance. When you're wearing repair hat and then you're wearing customer service hat, and you're wearing guitar salesperson hat and stuff like that. That starts to get, even if you do jettison the rest of your life, it does seem like that can get pretty crazy. You got any insight on successful adaptations for that?
That's a really good question. How would we define successful, I guess, Ian?
Well,
because I would say I'm a person who's made success out of serious ADD.
Yeah.
Like I am a person who I want to do everything in life. I like people, I like business, I like technology, I like wood, I like spreadsheets, I like selling to people. So I enjoy all of it. And so for me, having all the things that I do in a day is fitting for me, but it's not something that I think I would really recommend most people do. It's really complicated and it's hard. And I think it really would it would really it has worn me down quite a bit over the years, and it definitely is not easy. I mean, what we're doing here, it's a little crazy, you know. It's building a business of this scope and size without a lot of money, with no money backers, organically in a world which is really just sort of like mega corporate conglomeration. It's really hard. So I work about 80 hours a week. Um, and I work really fast. And I don't necessarily recommend that to people. Having three full-time techs is kind of what makes it work, because I don't really have to do that much. I do the more weird, complicated stuff um, right now. And so my time in the repair shop is pretty small right now. I would like to get back to it though, because I really do enjoy it.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of what I was getting at is like, I also have created an environment of maximum ADD pleasure. And one of the things that's really hard for me is like, there's things that I want to do, there's things that I have to do, there's, like, and I've created, this wonderland of things to do, but sometimes it's hard figuring out what the priority is. Do you, are you, do you have any good tips for kind of like separating the wheat from the chaff on and not getting involved in too many duck jobs like, oh, I got to go to Home Depot now?
Yeah, we have a pretty good staff here. We've got about 12 people who work here total. And so we've got a lot of people to do stuff, but I don't waste any time. I hate to say waste, because I love going to the hardware store and staring at hardware for 4 hours and thinking about a jig I want to build. But I don't do that anymore, really. I leave that up to other people. So mostly I have to make some pretty wise choices about what matters. And to be frank, as you all know, making money in guitar repair is not that easy. So we usually um, consider that the sales of guitars here heavily subsidizes our repair shop. Because as I said, half the time you spend in the repair shop is working on shop stock. So the sales kind of allows us to not feel like we have to monetize every hour in the repair shop, if that makes sense. And I think that really helps quite a bit, It doesn't take away the stress of like customers waiting for their stuff. And I would say that's the biggest thing for me that eats at me based on being too busy, is failing to deliver deadlines for guitars. I really don't like that. And so some of that actually is just coming up against your own limitations and recognizing you just have to have better boundaries and say no. So I'm at a point in life where I'm really just learning to say no, or prioritize things in a different way, or just really make clear expectations. I think everyone's probably familiar right now with having to tell people, yeah, that'll be 6 months, that'll be a year. Sorry, it's just the reality. I've had to let go of my natural people pleasing tendencies a little bit, because I've gotten into trouble by, I'm sure you can all relate. Oh yeah, no problem. This will just be a week or two, and then 3 months later, it's still not done.
It's so ridiculously hard because it is super easy to say yes on the front end, and then it's like on the back end it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Are you using any technology to help schedule and all that kind of good stuff, or?
Yeah, so because we have a big repair inflow and we have 4 techs, and we have a lot going on, we're pretty careful about how we track things. And actually, the reason that we use the point of sale system we use, which many of you may have heard of, Lightspeed.
Yeah.
But Lightspeed is, it's probably one of the biggest point of sale systems out there. And the reason we use it is because it has the most advanced service function of any of the point of sale systems out there. So we have it. We didn't want a repair system that was separate from our retail system because we want the customers to have a unified experience. So like you can come in and you can buy a guitar, you can pick up your guitar from the repair shop, and you can pay for all the strings and tuners and everything that might have been included in your repair, all in the same transaction. And so that's what we use Lightspeed for. So Lightspeed allows us to assign due dates. It allows us to assign statuses, and we make custom status. So we have, and then we can track by employee. So we can assign something to an employee. We can give it a due date. We can give it a status, a priority. We can take all the notes, and then we can email it to the customer. And then when we're done, we email the customer the receipt, which shows it's done, shows it's finished, and then they can come pick it up. So one of the things I think that's probably different here is that we have sort of checkout people who might take in your repair and might check out your repair, who may not be the techs who worked on it. Now, if you want to talk to a tech, that's fine. We can arrange that, but you don't need to. And so that allows us to have people dropping off stuff anytime we're open. I don't think I would do that if it were just a repair shop. I think we would do what I think a lot of you probably do, which is have limited drop-off hours. But having the big system integrated into the whole store and the rest of the employees allows us to just have that flow happening all the time.
So that gets me to another thought. You know, how many people do you say you have? 13?
We got, I don't know, we just hired a few, and a couple people left and 4 new people came on. So we're generally around a dozen employees.
Okay. You know, when I think of a lot of repair guys, you know, a lot of them are lone operators because they've been somewhere before where maybe they've brushed up against managing people, and it's, you know, sometimes that can be as challenging as a broken guitar. Like, what did you like everything else? Did you just go to work on learning, you know, learning how to manage people, or are you just kind of winging it on that end?
I guess that might depend who you ask of my employees.
He's winging it.
So in the years between my first stint in guitar making and coming back to it, I did a lot of different stuff, which was usually running my own business. Whoa, did you guys hear that? That was someone like exploding a bass. But
if you gotta take a break, we can see some of this customer service in action. If you go,
I'll walk it. No, we got people. I'll walk you guys around and show you what's going on. But I'm in a little demo room because it's kind of a quiet room, and we have 3 little demo rooms where people can play. And so you can see we've got amps and just a small little glass end door. There's our acoustic guitar room. I'll show you guys more later, but you can kind of see across right now. That's our acoustic guitar room. But yeah, we can do a little tour. But, you know, as I was saying, I gained a lot of experience in the interim working with people. I actually worked with groups of kids and I taught a lot. I've done like coaching kinds of stuff, a lot of educational stuff. So I have a background sort of in education and leadership to some degree, but I did not realize the extent to which that would become my life, basically. And that has become my life. Because what you soon learn in leadership and owning a business is that you may have the best intentions in the world. You may have really clear ideas about things, but people are very complicated and systems are very complicated. And when you grow a business as fast as we have, things are always a moving target. It's really hard to document systems. It's really hard to know what's happening on a day-to-day. You have to really stay connected and communicative. So we've suffered a few breakdowns in communication through the years. We've definitely had some static as a team, but we've worked really hard to take care of it. And it's only more in the last couple of years that it became clear to me, you know, when you hear people talk about corporate leadership and all the things that they need to do to become an enlightened Zen warrior and become, do their meditation every day and study. And it sounds like bullshit when you're not doing it, but when you're in the middle of it, it's not bullshit at all. And it is like my entire life has to be dedicated to like improving myself so that I can show up in a way that supports a staff of 12 people succeeding, So that is almost the number one thing that I do at this point is leadership and people stuff. Unfortunately, like I said, I work about 80 hours a week, so I would say that's half my job, and the rest of the half is all working on guitars, selling guitars, ordering guitars, doing other related stuff. So I definitely have too many hats on, but you cannot neglect the people part in any way, shape, or form. And you cannot make assumptions about what you think is happening with your staff. And if I could give anyone advice who's thinking about hiring people or expanding their business, it's that make employee manuals, come up with policies, be clear about what your expectations are, be clear about what your boundaries are, and buckle up.
Yeah. Do you, in addition to that, are you doing anything like organizationally, like weekly meetings or monthly meetings or trust building retreats where you fall into each other's arms and stuff like that? Or is there stuff like that?
We had a little, like about 2 years ago, we had a little bit of a breakdown amongst our staff where we really needed to do something active to address it. So we hired a coach who came on and we did some group workshops that were about, sort of expanding our communication skills and our perspective sharing with each other. And then we've done a lot of work throughout like about a year working with him and doing different small group meetings, big group meetings. We created a leadership team. So we have like 5 people that meet every week. My wife and I own the business. And then we have 3 other people, or now 2, because one of them has moved on our leadership team. So we do that weekly so that as a team, we can work on what our priorities are. We can come up and address issues that we're dealing with. We can strategize. And then we create a lot of little subcommittees. We meet with people. We do annual agreements with our staff in which we have to kind of refresh their job descriptions. It's a lot. But I can say there's no shortcut when it comes to taking care of employees. And there's no shortcut. I mean, if you have a couple people who are all of like mind and you're all just winging it together, that can totally work. But when you start hiring people who may be 20 years younger than you, who may be from a different background, who may be from a different generation, who have totally different job expectations, things can get things become complicated much more quickly. So someone in one of the leadership books that I was reading said, if you put in enough time at the beginning, you won't have to put in an excessive amount of time when things go wrong, if that makes sense. So I would really encourage people to start with employees with like we just hired 4 new people and we did weeks of interview processes. They met the team. They were asked really intense questions. They showed up for 2 interviews. They have a 30-day trial period. They're being trained really specifically. They're being checked in with every shift. They're being emailed. You really need to tend to this stuff to create the kind of environment that you want. Because in the past, I think I had a little bit more of hey, we're all good people. We all have good intentions. We all have a basic shared background. This is going to be fine. But it's not always fine. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of missed perspective that can happen. So dealing with people is probably the most rewarding and difficult part of my job, I think. If I could just work on guitars and sell guitars all day, I would have no stress. I shouldn't say no stress, but really being responsible for everything together and all the people and making it all work is where the stress comes from more,
Yeah, it's good to hear this stuff because every person that starts out is like like they're working away in their shop by themselves, and they're like, hey, if I add another person, now we got double the money coming in. And it really is like there's there's a lot to it, and there's just flat out there's a lot of risk. Having that many people multiplies all of the problems that you might have, times 12 or 13 or whatever, in terms of somebody hits their finger with a hammer, or somebody, I don't know,
Yeah.
develops an addiction and starts stealing or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
it's just vectors for risk. So
absolutely. And it's also, it's vectors for risk, and there's not a linear increase in efficiency, right? 1 + 1 does not equal 2. 1 + 1 + 1 does not even equal 2 either. 1 + 1 + 1 maybe starts to equal 2, but it's, for every employee there, there's training time, there's conversation time, there's all the edges of employment. You don't come in the morning, just start working, and then just leave. You greet your fellow employees, you deal with customers, you deal with emergencies. There's so much that can happen in a day. And I have to come in before hours and after hours to get my guitar work done, because if I am here trying to work on guitars during the day, I'm just going to be pulled in too many directions.
yeah. How surprised were you that your employees were, they were just going to be employees, and they weren't going to share you know, your level of vim and vigor for 80-hour work weeks, and hyper focus every minute of every day?
I think I'm 50 now, and I think I'm just coming to terms with my naivety about people and how they regulate. And I have a belief that people do their best work when money is not involved. And I have a funny feeling most people could relate to that, being luthiers, because most of you probably didn't get involved with this to make a lot of money. Um, so for me, one of the things that I want to pass on is a love of concentration, a love of satisfaction, a desire to do something that hasn't been done before, a desire to do something that is really kind of radical in the current business climate. So that's where I come from. And I kind of believe that everyone's just going to self regulate in that direction. And to be frank, my employees are amazing. We have an incredible group of people here. I know Calvin and Trevor know our people. We have an amazing group of people. And I would be a fool if I said that they were not doing a great job. That doesn't necessarily mean that they share my vision or my work ethic all the time. And when they're done for the day, they go home and they're done for the day. And I still have another 4 hours of work to do, and I still have to make sure everything gets paid. So I have recognized that, it's really, my role is quite different from other people's, and my expectations of other people are quite different. However, we look to hire people who are inspired by what we do and are inspired by a job well done. So, I would say to some degree, a good part of our staff operates in a pretty high level of commitment to this place and to the community that we serve. But I definitely, I have a person who works in rational behavioral therapy. It's a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, and basically he turns irrational thoughts. So he tells me, "Hey, John, the idea that other people are going to show up the way you do, that's an irrational thought, and that is going to cause you suffering." And that's something that I'm really coming to terms with in my life right now. And actually, that's okay, because it really pushes me in the direction of just being better at being an employer who understands the needs of the employees and can translate that. So that's actually led me to be more clear in my communication, better with my boundaries, better at setting systems, because I recognize that other people aren't really always going to show up the way that I do.
Yeah, the systems part of it is key. Like realistic expectations, and then like the other thing too, I've worked in environments where it's okay to push and it's okay for management to push, but like, you push to, see if like increased efficiencies are possible. And then you got to give like a little back off time for people to, if they achieve that, to relax and, kind of feel like there's a new normal before you go yanking the rug out,
Yeah.
leave them and go, hey, we're doing something new now, like,
Yeah.
the,
Well, that aspect I was going to say is hard because in this business, there's always more work waiting to be done. And so you don't ever feel like your work is done. And that's not a healthy place for people.
yeah. Yeah, unless you're built for it.
Yeah.
But are you built for it because you have do you have a vision left to realize, like you're working towards some like even grander vision than what you have now, like world domination through?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I'm naturally, I was raised by wolves, so I was kind of just left alone from an early age to just do my own life. So I've always I'm a very independent person, and I'm a person who I'm not enough. I'm a pretty anti-authoritarian person who has always just decided I could just do what I need to do. So that's been my guiding principle in a way, is just figuring things out. And but in terms of the vision, I would say I'm not inspired by factories. I'm not inspired by money. I'm inspired by creating something really meaningful for the community that we serve. I'm inspired by being a good employer and creating jobs in an industry that doesn't really have jobs. So our mission is really more of a socio-cultural, economic one, I would say. You know, we're really trying to do business in a healthy way. Like, we buy guitars from our local community. So since 2017, we've spent almost $5 million buying instruments from our local community. So talk about local economy. That feels amazing. I live 3 doors away from the store. My wife and I run the store. We really care about people. We're trying to create an environment that is more inclusive than any other guitar store that has ever existed. Um, we are trying to change the boys club mentality of this industry. We're trying to create a business based on organic principles and reality that is going to succeed in the middle of the most mega corporate world that you could possibly live in. So we're pretty inspired. This is my life's work. This is my art to the world. This is my contribution. So the working on guitars part is a part of that. I love working on guitars, but I love everything. You could put me in a room with anything, I'll concentrate, and I'm in my happy place. For me, the happy place is concentration and doing things. So while I love working on guitars, I'm not motivated to be the best guitar repair person in the world. Not by any means. I'm motivated to do something for our community. Like, we provide a very high level of repair at a very reasonable price, and we are we're not gatekeepy about it. And we can provide something to people which is a little different. Like, I know when I was a single luthier repair person, I couldn't offer people the kind of community that I can offer them here. But as a store, you can't offer them what we can offer here as a repair shop. So this place really offers a lot. So my inspiration is really large for this project. And I would say my inspiration around doing the guitar work at this point is more about passing the traditions on, and providing an environment for other people to train and to grow in this field. And we're pretty scientific about what we do in our repair shop. So I enjoy that aspect of kind of creating repeatable systems. That I'm very proud of the fact that someone gets the guitar from one of our techs and doesn't know who did the work, because we all do basically the same work. That's something we really aspire to. Not everyone has the same qualifications, but you get what I'm saying. So we're pretty highly inspired here. So that's what motivates me.
This may sound like a little bit of a weird question, but like, people are people everywhere. But is there something in particular about your community that you find really special? Did you grow up in the town that you're working in? Like, do you have like deep roots there?
No, if I grew up here, I probably wouldn't be doing this. I grew up in New York, so that's part of, I've got that spirit. I was born in Manhattan, and the energy never left me there. So I moved to Massachusetts when I was like 17 to go to college, and I've lived here ever since. So I have lived here in this valley since 1994 or five. So I have three kids that I've raised here. I've coached local sports teams. I've played in bands. I've, done so many things here. So yeah, I'm really, really deeply connected to this community. And Northampton is a really special place. I mean, this whole valley is a really special place. But we have a very diverse population in terms of LGBTQ and gender stuff. We don't necessarily have a very diverse population in terms of, racial and ethnic profiles, though we not diverse, but having grown up in New York, it's not like that. So this valley is also a very it's a very politically progressive, it's a very culturally progressive, friendly place. So I think our community supports what we do here in a way that other communities might not. Or there's a symbiotic relationship between what we want to do and our community here. And I say the number one thing I've always said about this business from the beginning: we're a reality-based business. That's my business philosophy. We're a reality-based, which means you work with what's in front of you. You work with what works. And I think a lot of times when people start businesses, they have an idea of what their product should be or what their offering should be. And that doesn't always match with what the realities of the marketplace are. And so what we've tried to do from the beginning is really listen to what our community needs and wants. And that community is our local community, but it's also a larger community because, we've become something of a significant player in the retail world of guitars. So, we feel like I'm bringing the humanity that I want to see happen in the world to fruition through a business. This is just my particular art in the moment that I can bring my values and my vision to. And the community here operates in that way and has supported what we've done and has recognized it. But it really requires paying attention to the people around you and offering them what they want.
Yeah. That, finding a place where you feel good for doing that is, well, that's key. Like, I like doing repair work here in the tri-state area. Oof. Like, I'm from the West Coast, so just flat out, like the people I was dealing with, we're not really, we're just not on the same page, and it just always felt like this disconnect where I could never kind of get going. I was always kind of dealing with, communication styles or behavior styles that were just kind of wildly different from what I was.
So you mean you in New York versus the West Coast? You're saying you were just
or probably anywhere else in the country. Like, I spent some time Looth and in Brooklyn at kind of the height of like the early 2010s kind of hipster thing, and like some of the behavior I saw from people there was just crazy, and you just couldn't like I just couldn't I just always felt like I was spinning my wheels, and whatever. What's done is done. But let's also going to that community thing, like when commercial real estate is such that you can't even really have a guitar repair shop, like that tells you something about the community that you're in, as far as I'm concerned. The fact that your community is not only sponsoring you, but you're not like opening a business and then closing immediately because you realize there's just you can't get there.
No, and that's one of the things I will say about business that I think is really tragic is that most people start a business or expand a business without any real proof of concept. And you can't afford proof of concept anymore because you can't just go rent a space, spend $100,000 building it up, and then try your idea. So honestly, one of the reasons why we're successful and made it through the startup stage was because when I was ready to start this business, I found like a 1,500 square foot downtown space. I walked in, I shook hands with the guy, I started paying $1,000 a month, and I just opened up shop. I already had a lot of customers. I already had a lot of goodwill in my community. I already had a lot of social capital, you know. But if I hadn't had that opportunity to get that inexpensive space with that didn't need to be built out, that I could just start up and running, then it's pretty unlikely that I would be here today doing this. So by the time we bought this is $1 million building. You know, we did some crowdsourcing to come up with the down payment. Obviously, we mortgaged 90% of it. We got an SBA loan for part of it. But we had already proved the concept over 5 years, 6 years, right? You know, so we already had a business plan. We already had cash flow projections. We already had a customer base. We already had employees. And that allowed us to take on this huge debt with confidence. But I think what happens for the business world right now is either you need to lay under a rock in a tiny one-room shop, or you need to decide that you're going to take the biggest risk of your life and throw everything in with no proof that it's going to work out. And that sucks. I mean, and that's why I think starting a small business right now is one of the most radical things people can do.
How close did you sign papers on your mortgage that the pandemic took off? Like, were you like up against that?
You know, we were looking for a building. Like I said, we opened in 2017. So 2017, 18, 19, and Calvin used to work. We used to work with Calvin way back in those early days too. It was fun. 2017 and let's see, 2017, 18, 19, 20. So by the time the pandemic came, we had been looking for a building for a year or two. If anyone knows Northampton, it's not a really great place to buy real estate. It's way overpriced and there's not a lot of availability. So I've been looking for a building for 4 years before we bought one. And then the pandemic hit and we had to just get through the pandemic for a year or two. And then basically right after the pandemic, we were still continuing to look for a building. And then this one came up, which I had actually identified 5 years previously as a building I might like. This one came up for sale. I literally live 3 doors away, which for me is a good thing. I know not for a lot of people, it wouldn't be, but I like it. Yeah, so, and then it took over a year to build it out. So we were running the other shop and spending a year engineering, designing, constructing this building. I mean, I was on my hands and knees installing all the flooring here, and I did all the design and had an engineer and have to finish, an architect. But so we've been trying to get this building done since about 2019, and we finally did it in 2024.
Awesome. Did you have an interim space in between the 1,500 square foot space?
No, we kept adding. We were just adding storage. We had at one point, right now, this is crazy. No, last year we had our old space. We had our new building that we were building out. We had 4 storage units, and we had a 2,000 square foot shop in another building. We were paying for all of those during 2024. Needless to say, 2024 was a tough year for us financially, but it's what had to happen to get us in here.
Cool. Well, with that, should we take a look around and see what we get for $1 million?
Well, let's do it. All right.
Oh, so, does anybody have any? Calvin, did you want to jump in? I see you. Calvin looked like you wanted to say something.
No, not specifically. I was just answering an email.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it. All right. So I'm gonna flip my phone. Gonna go to a different. And you said horizontal is good, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Where are we at? I'm gonna take you guys through kind of a convoluted way of doing things here. This is not normally how you enter the building, but this is where we're at.
Whoa,
So we have this huge.
Were the beams there when you moved in?
Nope. These are local eastern white pine trees. We built this. So I did the design of all this, and then I did a lot of the build out too. So this is our guitar showroom. So when we bought the building, this was just a big empty space. You can see we actually have 25-foot ceilings in here, which is pretty awesome. 10-foot fan. So when we bought the place, this was just an empty space. So we engineered these mezzanines because we needed more room. So we built like kind of a second floor up there, which you know what? Let's go look. It's fun. So these were local ash trees that I built the stairs out of. You guys are all familiar with ash, obviously. This is hardwood. You guys know like Osmo and Seikos and Ruby monocoat. It's like that kind of stuff. I actually finished guitars like that. I like it. So this was our staircase. Our contractor actually made the metal in his shop in Florence, and I did the wood here. And then so all the post and beam mezzanines, you can see, we built about 1,300 square feet of them, which allowed us to get right to the verge of where we would have had to build a huge sprinkler system and all that. So we stopped there. But from here, you can take in the whole showroom. There's one of the big main streets in Northampton called King Street. And yeah, you can see all that. So this is where people don't think about this, but when you sell this many guitars, you have to keep their cases somewhere. So here they are. It's kind of crazy. We're actually going to build more shelving and stuff up here, but you know, this is the stuff, the non-glamorous stuff that people kind of don't realize how much square footage it takes up. And then we've got another mezzanine over here. This is really fun, this little catwalk. So this was, have you guys ever been to the Iron Horse in Northampton? Music venue? No? Well, they have a little post and beam mezzanine, and that's kind of what inspired the design here. You can see this is all our back stock. We sell a lot of pedals. Pedals are all the rage right now. We sell, I would say, we sell over $300,000 a year of pedals. It's crazy. This is just some storage areas. But yeah, pedals are a crazy, crazy game.
Are you doing like a fleet of lesson givers as well? Do you have lesson?
Right now we don't. We're going to add that to our life at some point. One of the issues is that our area is chock full of amazing lesson programs. So while our customers would like it, it's not a huge need of the community.
Yeah.
So we recently became a Fender dealer. We started off doing more used stuff, and that's what I prefer. But honestly, Martin and Fender came to us, and what are we going to do? Say no? So this is our little bass alley. We got Fender. We got a lot of new and used. And then this is our view to King Street. So this is a really fun place. I actually get a lot of great work done sitting right here in this little chair, looking out at the street.
So it says a lot about your community that you don't have to have bars over your windows. Like those are giant windows, a lot of guitars right next to it.
Yeah, it's a very safe area. So we actually we don't use this as an entrance because we have a parking lot in the back. So this is like a fire thing. This is kind of our little like boutique zone right here. This is all the fancy electric guitars, fancy amps, you know, all that fun stuff. And
what's your flooring? Is that an epoxy floor? Oh.
So this is called Spark new version of epoxy, and I highly recommend it. Everyone loves it full as heck. It looks cool. The sad part is that there's a real terracotta floor. What do you call it? Not terracotta, terrazzo floor under here, which is like the real version of this, like pebbles embedded in a concrete matrix and polished. But it was in such bad shape that we could not salvage it. But yeah, the post and beam thing is really cool because it takes like this huge space and really scales it down to a usable sections, you know? Because actually without this space sectioned off, it feels kind of weird, you know? So the post and beam thing, we're going to hang more guitars up there in the future. So we've got room to expand our guitar hanging. And then here's our pedal department. There's my wife, Nina.
Hi.
And
I recognize her from Instagram.
So we have a huge collection of pedals. One of our employees is really into it. And he drives all these purchases and sales. We're actually about to build a new little Harry Potter sales desk under there. Don't tell the fire inspector. You're not allowed to have things under the stairs, but don't tell them. Yeah. So that's our guitar showroom. Then we have an acoustic guitar room, which is great because we can keep it humidified. Actually, I'll just show you real quick. We got these. So if you want to test a guitar or amp, you can go in a little semi-soundproof room. Ours are themed. We've got a Beach Boys room. And we've got a Prince room here, which is fun. It's very dark. It feels like a 90s rock club in there. It's just like gray carpet. And then you guys, I was doing my thing in the Dolly Parton room. Although Prince and Brian Wilson are both passed, I do not want to see Dolly pass too soon. So each of the rooms were themed, which is fun.
How many guitars would you say you had in inventory? Just out of curiosity.
Oh goodness. I don't know. A lot. Because thousands. Yeah, because we've got piles of projects and we've got, you know what I mean, all that stuff you never even can get to. This is the acoustic room. There's at least 300 in here probably. So this room is we gave it 12-foot ceilings so that we could do 3 rows of guitars, which is nice because now all the expensive stuff, people can see it, but they can't, you know, they need one of us to get it down for them. So we can keep all the cheaper stuff down low, the mid-grade stuff, and it helps. So we've got it also sounds really good in here because it's a very lively rectangle. So this is the acoustic guitar room, and honestly, having this room available with its own humidification is exactly what we need because it's impossible to keep this whole building properly humidified in the wintertime. So we can make sure to keep the acoustic guitar room well humidified. So that's our guitar showroom.
Do you humidify where the electric guitars are?
We do, but it's just not we can't guarantee it's quite as good as the acoustic room, you know?
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, no, we do humidify the whole space, but I have given, I mean, obviously we all know how humidity works, but given the opportunity to observe this many thousands of guitars over this many years is really enlightening in terms of understanding how different brands respond differently to different things. So that's been an interesting learning process. I will say one of the things about running this business is that we've gotten our hands on
John, we're losing you. Oh, we lose him completely.
The parking lot, which is incredible. Because if anyone knows Northampton, we're known to have the most aggressive parking enforcement pretty much anywhere. So I'll show you guys here. So people drive around to our back parking lot, and that is the bike path. You see that train bridge? That's our bike path, which is awesome. So people can bike here, they can walk here. It's about, I don't know, if you walk to the right about a half mile, you'll be right downtown in the middle of everything. And so we got a main entrance. You guys are going to like what sits in our main entrance right now. You guys know this?
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't have room for it here, but I'm trying to find some room for it because I love it. So fun. I don't know if you've ever used them, but they're amazing.
You want to talk a little bit about that before we move on?
This guy, yeah. Let's see. So these have a sliding table. So this was actually a printmaking saw for printmakers. So you've got a 7-inch blade here that you can crank up, and then you've got a sliding table with a clamping system. I'm hitting the glass behind me. So you can clamp things into this little guy here. Let's do my fingers. So by pressing this bar down, I can clamp in, and then my item is locked in place, and I can slide it across the saw, and it's super accurate. And then it's got this little guy. So if you want, you can kind of run things up against there. Some people make angle jigs and different things for it, but you can adjust your distance there. This is actually in picos, which are a measurement in printmaking. I forget how it translates to like 0.6, 0.06, I don't remember. But I have seen people actually change out this screw and change out the scale and turn this into an inch scale. So that if you want to take 100, like each crank would be like 100th of an inch or something. It's a pretty cool saw. Love it. It's good for cutting up small parts with accuracy, and it's very safe because you don't have to have your hands there. So big fan. Actually pretty small footprint too. And weirdly enough, people used to use them for grinding. They would grind things off this side of the blade or others that would go down and get collected in this little thing here. It doesn't sound too safe to me, but safety's not my favorite. Our contractor had a shirt that he would wear that says "Safety Third." It was really fun. All right, so here you go. We got like a little lounge here. We got some merch. We got some this, and this is all of our like non-guitar stuff up here, and then guitar accessories too.
Briefly, I saw some drums. Are you doing drums?
Yep. We got a drum department over here. And this is a little, we've always done some drums, but now we're doing it in a much bigger way. So yeah, we got a pretty stacked little drum department. It's not huge, but it's Sturgis, who manages it, has some pretty good taste in products, and we keep pretty much everything we need in. We got used kits, which is nice. So we do drums, and then we've got like guitar retail, all the accessory stuff, slides, hangers, stands, all the fun stuff. And actually, what you guys, I think, will appreciate more than that is just kind of the way we lay it out in terms of like the customer experience. We have like a retail counter, and then we have a repair check-in counter. So this is where you might go to like have your guitar brought in for repair. We got pickups and all the acoustic pickups and all electric pickups, so people can see. We don't necessarily have everything out, and then we've got like a trade-in desk here. So if you're trading stuff or selling it, you come over here. And so that helps because it gets real busy, and if you're dropping off a repair, you don't necessarily want to feel like you're sitting in line with like 3 other people waiting to buy stuff behind you. So that's how we break it up. And then our shop's sort of an open kitchen. So you can see back there is actually our repair shop, which is not, we're still moving in. We moved in February, so our everything is like fairly established. This is our like waiting to be picked up repairs. So we're pretty, everything gets its paper, it gets its tag. We have to be pretty careful because we handle so many instruments every day. So we have to be real careful. Green tape makes this place go round. So that's, people can check in their instrument here. It ends up going into our pile. This is actually, we're pretty lucky. We have a room that we humidity control for our waiting repairs. So we got this, used to be a bathroom, but we don't need 3 bathrooms. So we've got, I got a humidifier, I got a dehumidifier, and we can just keep things where we need them to be in here, which is really nice. I don't know if most of you guys are here in the Northeast, but it's a miserable place to own a guitar.
What wild humidity swings?
Yeah, that's all I mean. The humidity can get crazy in both directions. So we keep all that stuff in its own room while it's waiting to get worked on and stuff. And then here's the main repair shop. So as I said, we're still building it out, but we've got this we got a lot of bench space. We like our vices here. I know not everyone is that way, but most everyone in our shop prefers to work everything with these little wiring station. Got some of this fun stuff here. It mostly becomes a computer bench, honestly. And so these are just really like dialed in little repair stations, There's no building going on in here. And as I said, we only moved in February, so we're still unpacking. And then we got more benches. Here's Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Everyone says hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Is there anything in the manual about shared spaces and keeping things tidy? Were you able to like really set things down? Looks tidy.
That's a good one. I think everyone just communicates pretty well about it, and we keep each other pretty in check there. I think Luthiers and techs, we all have fairly similar sensibilities. None of us are super neat, but we want it to be tidy and organized. So, it manages. We have a stinky bench, so no steel wool or really gross guitars make it into there. So this is the main repair benches. This is where we do any kind of steel wool or heavy, dirty stuff, or little sanding of guitars. I don't mean refinishing a guitar or something, but just your basic work that's kind of dirty, which is really nice to have. It's having no steel wool on any of those other benches is the best thing that's ever happened in my repair life.
Yeah.
A little buffer for nuts and saddles, and all the fun tape. Everyone knows how much tape you need in this business, right? We got a little Erlewine jig up there and a baseball bat. That's the Louisville Slugger in case things get ugly. But so far, we've never had to use it. I don't know where it came from, and then we have a little machine room where we can keep our dust. I don't want to scare Chris, but we got dust collection. Ooh, ear protection. Look at that. Tell OSHA. And, just your basic tools. I got the total vise set up here. Actually, been using. I got that bolted to the floor in here, and I use that in here. I just got this stuff from a guy in Utah. What's his name? I forget his name
Luke.
now.
Luke.
You all know him.
Yeah, Luke.
There you go.
I think he's actually here. Luke, are you here?
Awesome. Well, anyway, there we got the little neck rest, and I've got the I don't have it on right now, but I've got the extension with the hold down. I actually prefer using this for my at tension work. One of the other guys prefers the Erlewine jig, but I prefer this. I just find it simpler. This is great. Flat files. We love our flat files around here. I have drawers on. And I have my best recommendation on the tool. If none of you guys have this, it's the Proxon sander. It's like a 9-inch disc sander made by Proxon. It's fairly light duty, but it's incredible for guitar work. Part of why is it's got a speed control. Actually, you can't turn the machines on here without turning the dust collection on. So it's got a speed control back there, which is amazing. Look at that.
Yeah.
You can actually stop it. So if I need to work on a tiny little part, it's real easy to just turn it down, kind of do something I probably shouldn't do with my fingers, and then turn the speed up as I need to. Obviously, when I don't have a phone, it's easier, but I could not recommend this tool enough, you guys. If you don't have this Proxon machine, it's like, it's amazing. So big recommendation there. And this is just all, I've got building tools in another shop, but we just keep all our small stuff that we need for repair here, you can't, you need your DeWalt stuff and whatever. And again, this is all kind of a big old mess. We've really never fully moved in since February. And this is all more, just guitar repair stuff that's going to get dealt with and sorted and backstock. So we're going to actually expand out a little bit more to this area and take it over more and section ourselves off
do
a
you
little
ever
bit.
close books? Like, do you ever like have to say we've got enough repair for we're closing books for a couple weeks, or?
Pretty rarely. More often what we do, so this is something we have right now at the repair intake. We've got this. I don't know if it just says basic setup time, 7 to 14 days. So we'll have, kind of depending how busy things are, we'll have, different flip cards for basic. So actually, I think we're back down to about here now. So I'm gonna change that. And then we'll tell people with bigger jobs, we'll just tell them that, hey, this might be 6 months, or you might want to bring it back next year or whatever. But it's pretty rare we say no. And to be honest, I would say that's one reason why we've been successful, but it's also one reason why we've been chaotic and messy, Oh, here's my buffer. I don't have a great place for it, but this was my handmade buffer years ago. That still works well. I quite like it. And we got a little break room for employees with all the important stuff. Coffee machine, can't be without that.
Yeah.
Although we broke our main one. This is temporary. So it's just like everyone can just chill, hang, eat, take breaks. And we got an employee bathroom. And this actually circles us back around to where we started. So this place is it's like two buildings with entrances on either, that kind of conjoin. So this was the room we started in, and there's our acoustic room. So I think you guys have seen most of it.
Yeah.
At this point.
You wanna sit back down in the partner room, and we'll have a little
Sure.
Q&A. See if anybody's got any questions, or if anybody wants to intersperse our dialogue with observations or witticisms.
Well,
Doug, any witticisms?
there we go.
Does anybody have any questions for Jon? Doug, if you were trying to unmute, you didn't unmute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's quite an outfit you got there.
Oh, thank you.
So, how many people did you say you had working in your repair department?
There's me and 3 full-time techs.
So, a total of 4 of you.
Yeah.
Do you have for working with in a multiple Looth shop? Do you have any kind of hierarchy as to who does what? Not only who does what, but who reports to whom?
Yeah, that's a real good question. Yes, we have kind of established roles based on our experience levels and what we are all good at and can tolerate doing. So like Chris, who you saw in there, he's kind of our just crank it out all day guy. That he will just set up guitars, change pickups, do minor fretwork, nuts, saddles, just all the basic stuff. He just does it all day, every day. That's his only job here. So while he is also improving other skills and working to have a broader range of skills in the shop, that's really what he does. And then we've got a guy who has a little more background in all the weird folk instruments. So he just does all the mandolins and banjos and all that fun stuff, as well as regular guitar stuff. And then we have Jeff, who's like a more senior guy who's worked here longer. So he'll be a bit more of a kind of a manager role in terms of helping people sort out work or answer questions or get advice or just organize things. He's more of a day-to-day manager. And then I'm the one with the most experience and education. So I'm kind of more the tech resource for more complicated stuff. I'll do more of weird. Jeff does a lot of the glue ups, crack repair, and bridge resets and glue ups, and I'll just do a lot of the really weird stuff like that no one else wants to do, basically.
Right. So with you, I mean, with you having as many roles as you have, and obviously during the course of a day being pulled in lots of different directions, you've got your I think you said his name was Jeff. He's kind of like the foreman of the shop, who's the guy in the room directing the traffic and doing repairs as well, because you're running around, like crazy all day.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to like the day-to-day work. You know what I mean? I don't have to pay attention to like, oh, hey, did you guys get those 10 repairs that came in yesterday done? I don't have to worry about that. Everyone is pretty self-sufficient there. Yeah, we'll try to meet like once a week or so and just go through all the work orders and divide them up,
So what I was
that's
getting
one
at then
process.
was you have somebody who's like your foreman of your repair shop, who is managing the other repair people in there.
Yeah, to some degree. I would say in the repair shop, we tend to, we definitely have a hierarchy, but we also, there's a lot of self-sufficiency. Like everyone is pretty clear about what their role is and just kind of does it, But I would say the most important thing to make sure the customers get what they need is for us to meet every like week or twice a week and just go through everything and make sure that we have, oh, hey, this is a job that needs to get done. I'm going to assign it to you, but I'm going to ask you to ask me for help when you're doing it. Stuff like that we'll work on. But I'm not involved with the day-to-day as much, but I'll step in more for like teaching more technical stuff or doing more technical stuff.
Okay. So who interacts with the customer as it relates to?
So actually everybody. So not just all the techs interact with the customer. And if what I said earlier was one of the things that's interesting about this place is like some people want to go talk to the person who's working on the guitar. Some people don't. They just want to drop it off and walk out. So for people who want that, you can just go to the front counter and anyone who works here can take in the repair. And then the tech may call you later when they have it on the bench and they are going to do an estimate. But in terms of checking people out, that's a little bit more of just a mechanical process, checking in and out. And then if you do want to talk to a tech, you're usually just going to talk to the tech who is going to be assigned to your project, because I found that when I've tried to be in the middle of that, it just makes the customer experience worse.
Cool.
So everyone's pretty good with their customer service skills here. So everyone's good at, talking to the customers, presenting options, talking about the estimates, that kind of thing.
Well, it's a great looking shop and a great looking store. I actually unfortunately have to run, but thanks for giving us a peek under the hood.
Cool. Thank you, Doug. Nice to see you.
Any other questions? Anybody? All right. Well, Jon, dude, that was really inspiring. Makes me regret that I focused on drinking as much as I could for so long and didn't do something as cool. Or just in general, like that looks like it must be quite engaging, So
I am never bored, Ian. I am never, ever, ever bored.
Yeah.
And I never, ever will be.
What are you doing? Are you finding time to get exercise, or is just the running around in the store enough exercise to keep you going?
Running around the store, I'm a pretty active person, so I have always been able to keep pretty fit just through day-to-day work. But I do need to. I'm at a point where self-care is gonna need to come back into my life. I've definitely honestly, so building this place took everything. I was here literally building out the place myself every day for 6 months, and I have 2 torn menisci right now that I have to get surgery, and I'm going to get the eye surgery finally that I've always wanted. So I'm going to start taking a little better care of myself, because now that I've hit 50, it's like I've sort of always had it a bit as a goal of like, that's when I'm going to start to like slow down and have more daily routine. I'm a very hard worker. I'm very disciplined in my work, but I'm not good at like eating breakfast or getting dressed or doing my laundry or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's 50 is a good time to start taking care of that stuff.
Yeah. I've been blessed with some pretty good health over the years, though, so I can't complain.
Yeah. Do you ever I notice, like I pretty much go and go and go, and then I'll just wind up hitting a wall, and like it'll just happen. Like one day I've just got to go, okay, I gotta like not do anything today, or I'm just gonna like be in this constant state of fatigue. You ever experience that as well, or are you blessed
yes.
with body chemistry?
Sometimes of late I'm pretty existentially exhausted right now, after the pandemic and the way the world is, and everything we've been through building this place. I'm exhausted. So my wife and I are starting to take 2 days off a week actually now. I don't really take those days off, but I knock here at the shop. So we actually a few years ago we bought a boat that we keep in the water about an hour and a half away in the Long Island Sound. And the reason we did that is because it's like we need to do something extreme to distance ourselves from this place, And we have 3 kids. We can't travel. We have dogs. We can't travel or fly anywhere or anything. So that's our inner sanctuary. We go to the boat, and we're removed from everything else.
Yeah.
So.
Now, when you say a boat, I'm picturing a boat that needs a lot of work, and you go there and you just work on.
Sure, I work on the boat. Yeah. Right now, I'm installing a whole new solar inverter, DC battery system, and toilet.
You got to have that, because a fella can just sit on a boat and look out on a boat without those amenities.
Yeah, I'm a workaholic, and I can't help it, unfortunately. Boating is a great hobby for workaholics, because you have to earn all your enjoyment. You don't just relax; you work and then you relax.
Is it a sailboat? So you've actually got to like do.
It's a motorboat.
It's a motorboat.
Yeah. We're gonna eventually. We plan to get something more sustainable, like a sailboat or solar boat, and that might be my retirement. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jon, it's absolutely. Oh, did you have something else to say?
No. I'll talk for the rest of the day if you let me. So be careful.
Jon, thank you so much for taking time out of what is obviously a very jam-packed day to talk with us viewers and get us all fired up on our own projects. It's very inspiring. And your community. I
just also want to say I'd love to see you guys more, and I would love to engage with your community more. So hopefully over the next few years, we'll be able to come to some events and maybe host one up here or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, Jon, thank you so much. And your community is really lucky to have somebody like you. So be very heartened that you're doing this stuff. So everybody, Looth Lawn is in full effect. So go back to your jibber jabbers, and have a good day.
Jon. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll see ya.
Everybody unmute and say thanks, Jon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jon. Thank you.
Thanks, Jon.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you all. Nice to see you all for a minute, and take care.